All right, lock in. Gen Alpha can't read. Hmm. My brothers, who are Gen Alpha, they could read, but not at the lengths of which I used to read at this age. But like, it's not great. It's not great. My name's Wolfgang. This is reaction content. Yeah. All right. Gen Alpha can't read by I forget your name. I'll do that at the end.
Folks, if you have a working internet connection, or worse, a child of your own, you will have
Oh
almost
no.
certainly had it heard
I will never have a child until I'm like 30. Maybe past that. I don't know.
that Generation Alpha, the generation after Gen Z, but
Ooh.
before the collapse, is the worst generation ever. According to the internet, they are both loud and obnoxious, but also quiet and timid iPad kids as a result of being conceived through IVBR, which, as you know, stands for in vitro brain rot. But
oh lord. I mean, they have brain rot as soon as they come out the room, basically because of how we like handle them out like when they're first born, which makes sense. But beyond along the periods of their growth, yeah, they will instill brain rot into their brains because of cocoa melon and all the bullshit. So it's unfortunate, I know, but it's up to parents really, these new parents. But you know how they are.
seriously, if my YouTube homepage is any indication, Gen Alpha can't read videos, commentary videos, is currently feeding families. It's a content gold rush. Your own mother is grabbing a microphone and staring at teachers complaining on TikTok.
It's like they're more interested in looking at the problem than they are solving it, which is fair because like it's profit. So I'm not gonna like bash them too much, but like they could probably make it better if they don't platform such things. If they don't watch it as often, if they like report it or something like that. I know it's a big ask, but like us as content creators, we have to understand that we hold a larger than life platform if we even reach that far. So that a way we could do to like minimize this brain rot or this reading stuff is to like ensure that like people are having their kids and these Gen Alpha kids like to read more, encourage them to read more, etc. But I'm just a small dude. I don't know.
And so this is going to be a little bit of a meta video, a little bit of a content critique. If that's not your thing, I totally understand. Come back next week, because I just watched a video of a streamer talking about a YouTuber, talking about a TikTok, talking about Gen Alpha's reading ability. And now you're watching a video of me talking about a streamer, talking about a YouTuber, talking about a TikTok, talking about Gen Alpha. It's a Russian nesting doll of
I don't help in this case, but whatever.
trend hopping. And I am not immune. This is just how it works, okay? Some videos are for me, some videos are for you, and some videos are in service of the almighty algorithm. Blessed be its name. So no complaining from here on out. No, oh, he's just doing this because it's popular right now. Oh, he's just doing this for the money. Only doing it for the money. Quel scandale. What a spurious accusation. I am aggrieved, good sir. Absolutely aggrieved to believe that I, Mark of Mark Inscope.
Is aggrieving in I'm gonna search it up. I'm gonna search up aggrieved real quick. Hold on. Aggrieved describes someone feeling resentment, unfair treatment, or injury, often stemming from a violation of rights. Okay. Holy word pool. Holy word pool? Oh my god.
Or do something just for the money. In storytelling, this is called foreshadowing. Today's video is sponsored by Cyber.
Nope. Get your money, but if I ain't sponsored, I ain't watching.
Now, before I launch into a 15-minute long rant on the decline of critical thought, I'll level with you guys. I'm not out here suggesting that all these kids can read. Everything is not fine, okay? Demonstrably, there are issues with literacy rates. The stat that every Gen Alpha can't read video starts with is that 40% of fourth graders read below what the National Assessment of Educational Progress considers a basic level. It's an incredibly alarming statistic. 60% of fourth graders can read at a basic level, which is a precipitous decline from 25 years ago in 2000.
Precipitous, okay. This guy is pulling words out of thin air. Wow.
When a whopping 59% of fourth graders had a basic.
OMC. 1992, below an AEP basic is 38. Not great, but not whatever. It just kind of, it steadies between 38 to 37. I mean, I guess. I mean, in general, generations can't read. Like, look at this. There's never been more than 9% in at advanced reading levels. Like, honestly, what do you kind of expect, you know? But I could go into the system and the education system in general, but like, I think that's too like it's too like detailed and stuff like that for a reaction video. So we're just gonna
Reading
move
only.
on.
Wait, what? This doesn't make any sense. I was assured by my favorite YouTuber that in fact Gen Alpha is uniquely stupid in comparison
Yeah.
to my generation, which is smart, sexy, beautiful, perfect in every way. And look, I'm not trying to be flippant. Obviously, making zero progress.
Ooh, damn. The math I could see, or math is proceedingly been more complicated because of just people not really knowing math that well. And like 78, look at that. And something happened here. Gen Z, some for us Gen Zers, something happened here. I think the introduction of Google and like the implementation of like more less kind of it's kind of like less rigorous, you know? Like we weren't able to really face a challenge because we were accessing internet at such an early age, and we kind of like found loopholes. If you're able to find new technology and like build new technology, then there will be a way for you to undermine the current system and their teachings, you know? It's like before the calculator, when it was first being introduced into mathematics, people were like, it's an easy way out for these like, you know, math students, whatever, but then they still implemented it and then they built around it. But it took them years to do that. And then now the internet was introduced, mathway is a huge thing, you know? So like people have better opportunity to get the answers easily off new technology similar to calculators, right? And so the system continues itself because we as a system and as uphold and policymakers and enforcers allow these rules to not be changed or flexible or find an optimal solution because it's like a there's only so much time we have to really implement new changes, you know? So
In 25 years is depressing, though possibly it's a metaphor for society writ large. But a closer look at the data shows reading scores steadily increasing until 2013 before starting to level off and eventually dip a little. I wonder what invention became ubiquitous in 2013 that would lead to learning abilities starting to.
exactly. Phones is annoying to have. It's good to have overall. Annoying though if you're trying to like legitimately learn something because sometimes people are so addicted to it to the point where it's like a necessity in someone's life. If you don't have it, then you're like behind modern civilization by like 15 years, you know? What's up, Bizzle? How you doing? We're reacting to why Gen Alpha can't read. How you doing? How you doing? Welcome in. Welcome in.
Level off. And then between 2019 and 2022, test scores significantly drop, erasing basically 2 decades of improvement. And once again, I wonder what global cataclysmic event between 2019 and 2022 would lead to that kind of learning loss.
I wonder.
Probably the
I
release of
wonder.
Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. I also wasn't able to focus after that album dropped. But even that is not the full
Oh
story.
my god. I I like the song. It's been overplayed though. Sorry. It's not my fault. It's the radio. It's 104.1. It's 96.5. All of them radio stations. 99.1 too.
Because when you once again dig into the numbers, the declines in reading scores are not equally distributed. Which, by the way, math scores also took the same exact decline, so somebody needs to make a video called Gen Alpha Can't Count. By the way, that's free content advice. Which makes sense that both math and reading are affected here because this is clearly a focus issue, an attention span induced learning crisis, not literally that kids can't read. But the NAEP scores also show the decline being driven primarily by students that were already at the lower end of the distribution. Essentially, the kids who were already scoring low are scoring even lower.
So this is okay. I mean, true. It is true. But it's always like kind of leveled itself out to this kind of graphic. So I could see how people would like see that and be like, "Oh my god, everybody's fucking failing." In reality, they've been failing for the past few decades. There's nothing in the education system and its curriculum that pushes students to actually learn. Technology makes it worse, but I don't want to reiterate that, but still.
While the kids at the high end are scoring the same, which maybe it's just me, but this is far more horrific than, a TikTok of an iPad kid stimming. Education is allegedly supposed to be the great equalizer. Every kid gets a leg up. Every kid gets the opportunity. But in reality, beginning in the 2010s, after the smartphone boom and accelerating post-pandemic, there is an ever-widening gap between the kids at the top and the kids at the bottom, as those at the bottom fall even further and further behind, which is also probably another metaphor for society. And look, it's hard to find good research on this. Also, I'm not a research guy. So
You can make the argument where someone's socioeconomic status is completely tied to its education, where the worse the education, the worse socioeconomic like measurement you have of that person. However, you will have the stories of, the smart kid from O Block getting out and becoming like a CEO, and then going back to O Block and then destroying the families there. But like, hey, that's the American dream, baby. That's the American dream.
this is not even on me, but my layman hypothesis would be that the kids
I
who are
forgot
already
my shoe info.
struggling
Hold on.
probably have disproportionately unstructured and unsupervised home lives where they're able to just stim on an iPad or their phones all day, versus the
Yeah.
kids with the higher scores probably have parents who are more involved, who are going to regulate their screen time and also like fucking read to them. It's the eternal question of where are the parents? Where are the parents as their child turns to a digital crack addict with tongue, or whatever the
Bro.
his name is. Also nearly
Don't put disrespect on Triple T now. Nah, but like my mom, I remember growing up, my mom and I just let my little brothers watch TV, and then now I regret it because like all they watch is like Christian TikToks and like brain rot and all that. I'm like, I regret. I changed the channel to watch baseball because fuck them. I'm playing, but still.
everybody who has covered this topic also brought up Soul the Story, which is a podcast about whole language learning, which is a way worse way of teaching how to read than phonics, which again appears to be true, but also declining reading scores are happening in every single state, regardless of how the state teaches, and across rural, suburban, urban school districts. So there's big problems here. Big problems indeed. Clearly a lot of factors involved, including factors that can't neatly be summarized into LOL, look at this idiot Gen Z teacher 6'7". Oh my god. How evil. Which, how dare you try to make learning fun?
I forgot 6'7" could be such a funny tool. When you see it, you're like, wow, this generation is cooked. But in reality, it's the only thing you could probably use to get their attention. Because, again, their attention is based upon what they see and what they assume from the videos and from the real life experiences that they have in life. So if the only thing they ever known was Triple T, Sora AI, Coco Melon, and some other bullshit, then what do you expect? Like, what do you expect these kids to like legitimately, learn and become a part of their lives? Because when they get older, they're gonna look back on that and like assume that's a good way to like act, and then it spirals down into just complete utter nonsense.
Maybe it's just me and my silly little goofy brain, but is it crazy that kids know a dumb trend before they know how to count?
I'll give the people who have called this out the benefit of the doubt of mostly just poking fun, but there are people genuinely referencing this video as evidence of like the decline of education, as if when we were in school we didn't also have number-based vocal stems.
We had fucking 21. We have, when it was popular, I remember Little Einstein. I remember I was singing Little Einstein's song so much, my history teacher got so fucking pissed at me. She was like, Wolfgang, if you say Little Einstein's one more time, No one's getting a Reese's. I so fucking did it. And I got my ass whooped later on, but like, not getting my ass whooped. I got shunned for the entire rest of the week. See, it's like that. It's like we've gone through it before. It's just the way now that we're older and we see it. We're just more. We're just like, we used to do it and we're ashamed of doing it, and now since we see the younger generation do it, we're going to shame them as a means to cope with how we used to be growing up. We used to be cringe before you got a six pack, before you glowed up, whatever. We used to be cringe. Okay, doesn't mean you have to shun that cringe from other people, and especially the kids. They're gonna grow up and see themselves in the past, be like, oh wow, we were cringe. I think that's why I really do not like some of these content creators who do this stuff. Because like we used to be that kid. You used to be him, but they never go back to their roots once they're up. That's how it is.
Mostly rapper and producer tags at the time. For example, 2121.
21.
21.
21.
21.
21.
Hey.
And also,
holy flashback.
1738.
1738. 1738.
Sigma boy.
1738.
I said, hey, let's go, hello.
It's so pretty as in the door. I just wanna chill and it's like we're us around. It's in the dance floor. I never let go.
Yeah, baby. Like, no cap, for real. All y'all gramps need to get wrecked, or maybe catch me outside. You're just...
Ooh, damn. Oh my god. I'm stun locked after that one.
big mad that we're getting turned right now on God type shit. We have done this debate over and over again for every generation, and it is unbelievable to me that only seems to be like passingly acknowledged. When I was in middle school, there was genuine moral panic that like texting language was going to destroy the English language. That kids were not going to be able to understand grammar anymore, that we were just done. We were cooked because of LOL and raffle, and literally nothing changed. Nobody, for the most part, says lol out loud. Everyone is still able to write out words. Again,
my friends say lol out loud, and it pisses me off because like why? But I do catch myself doing that, so I fall into the bracket, unfortunately.
for the most part. Even earlier than that, there were arguments that like comic books and graphic novels were going to destroy reading. I remember hearing...
There he goes. My grandma was so scared of me reading comic books, she never got me a comic book until I like hit 15. And she bought me it. I'm like, I don't read comic books, Grandma. She's like, oh, I never really wanted you to read them. I'm like, me neither. I never wanted to read them. I did read Diary of the Wimpy Kid, but I only made it as a collection. I lost Dog Days. I lost it. But the other one, up until Cabin Fever, I've had mid books.
that rap music was going to also make us all functionally illiterate.
Oh my god. Especially rap music, dude. My fucking grandparents did not want me to listen to rap at all. My dad listened to rap music a lot of the time, but my grandparents saw my dad as like the epitome of like a deadbeat, all that, basically like the fucking like regular ass, horrible dad from like a sitcom or like a movie, like a dramatic movie. But I was still able to manage to listen to rap music at school because during one of the classes, they allowed us to listen to our radio while we work, and so I just put in 93.7 and 97.9 from Houston. If you know, you know. But that's when I kept getting Fetty Wap on repeat on those two radio stations, and it was so good. With the money I let go, and I get high with my bear. It's like I turned out fine, but the fears of it is somewhat rational. I say somewhat very loosely, but you'll probably understand later.
Despite Thugga Thugga's best attempts, that never happened. Just because literacy changes doesn't mean it's disappearing. And look, I appreciate some good intergenerational banter. I think it's fun when millennials, with their no houses and Chungus avocado toast.
Millennial to millennial. Stop buying avocado toast if you want to buy a home. That is such a lame ass fucking quote. First of all, get your ears back, bro. Jesus Christ. Second of all, fix your beard up, bro. Probably a good shave here would be nice. Button that one button up, bro. You're not hot. And then maybe fix this little eyebrow here. You're good. Oh my, you look like Neville from WWE. Minus the hair. Look at that. Widow's pig, you're balding, bro.
Okay, make fun of us, Gen Z, because we're too sexy and beautiful. It's all in good fun, okay?
Exactly.
Millennial cringe, Gen Z stare, whatever. However, some of you genuinely have beef with Gen Alpha, which I will remind you is at oldest 13
Oh yeah, it was mid 2020s. 97 is Gen Z? Really? Who knew?
years old. Your top op is a 7-year-old named Oscar. And I find that embarrassing.
For like Gen Alpha is dumber than Gen Z, and are you surprised? Back then when we were kids, we were literally coding websites using HTML on Tumblr. We had kids teaching themselves English so that they could write Shakespearean level literature on Wattpad.
Oh my god. Back then, they used to like, those Wattpad writers wrote novels. They wrote. And like, one, it's a testament to their situation and them wanting to reach out to a bigger audience. Another part of it is like, we were taught better discipline. Not the greatest discipline, but better discipline. Makes sense, but like, we never helped our case when we're sitting here doom scrolling on TikTok, you know? So like, who knows?
To everybody for free. And kid editors back then didn't have CapCut to use. Like, they were going into Sony Vegas, Premiere, literally hand editing everything. They were making Call of Duty montages, anime music videos, all sorts of stuff that had crazy, amazing editing. The only hobby I see kids having these days is literally just scrolling through brain rot on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So for Gen Z, every single hobby we had as a kid transitioned into actual life skills that could segue into a real world career, like those who did writing on Wattpad. They became journalists, they became writers.
Okay, a few counterpoints. One, the vast majority of Tumblr users, from what I can remember, were not coding websites.
That's where I'm like, I used Tumblr one time and I've never seen anybody code. Ever. That's NeoCities. I'm gonna do NeoCities in the future one day, but besides the point. I've only seen that in like NeoCities and other such like website makers, but like Tumblr? Really? It's not that hard to go on Tumblr and do bullshit. I think like the most we've ever done was Scratch. Or maybe Arduino, but that's it.
They were reposting black and white movie frames with Lana Del Rey lyrics. 2, there is nothing Shakespearean about Wattpad fanfiction.
It's not, yeah. It won't be every time you'll come across the worst written thing ever, and then the greatest thing ever from a teenage girl from Estonia whose her first language is like Russian. That's where you'll find the greatest of all time.
As a matter of fact, the fact that so many new books are targeted at that fanfiction Wattpad audience is probably why every new book that I flip through literally reads like it was written by a 10-year-old doing Wattpad fanfiction. But as they say, y'all ain't ready for that conversation. And 3, the kids use CapCut now instead of Premiere Pro. Okay, boomer, I respect how niche your critiques are getting. Back in my day, we used real editing software, not that newfangled CapCut.
Yeah.
Dude, shut the f*** up.
The editing is like, I use cheap editing. I use DaVinci and Clipchamp when my computer is not feeling DaVinci. Honestly though, Sora is just easier to use, but like, isn't every software kind of easy to use? Like, who's going to use DaVinci? Who's going to use Premiere? It actually costs money, dude. You think I'm going to spend money on the editing software I'm not even sure I'm going to use in the future? Like, hello? Like, be real.
The first video editor I used was in the 6th grade, and it was iMovie, and it was infinitely less powerful than CapCut, which is, I guess, what the kids have today. The idea that CapCut is not hand editing, whatever that means, is straight boomer slop, and I have no idea how you get there at age, I don't know, 22. Look, granted, I get the sentiment. We grew up on the tail end of the Wild West of the internet, and it had its ups, for sure, especially when it comes to learning and engaging with media just through discovery, as we did. It was fun for me to be 13 and cooking up straight trash in FL Studio, thinking I was 10 months max away from being Mac Miller. However, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's not like in hindsight, our parents giving us unrestricted access to the internet was like a super high IQ move, if we're all being honest. Tumblr famously wasn't a great place to be. We had a lot of problems with social, being honest. Tumblr famously wasn't a great...
Hills? Oh my god. Welcome back, DG. Jesus Christ. I forget how depressing Tumblr was. It's like a cesspool of angst among suburbia and poor middle class and middle class like suburban young children and teenagers, mainly women and like gay people and queers and queer people. I think I said a slur there. I'm gay. I'm sorry. Us queers, it got us together. But still, this shit's depressing.
Place to be. We had a lot of problems with social media. We still do. But hey, since Gen Z's the first generation to grow up with the internet, maybe we'll be better prepared as parents, all right, to manage our children's access to it.
I do not believe that, but that's another discussion.
Silver lining. And I'm actually glad that she also brought up Call of Duty montages, because I couldn't better explain myself how absurd the suggestion that Gen Alpha's brain rot is like uniquely bad versus the high artistry that we were making. Because this is what me and my friends considered peak entertainment in 2011.
My hope will never die. Oh my god.
Pure artistry. Remember what they took from you. The doomed permanent underclass that is Gen Alpha will never feast from our tree of MLG knowledge. And look, there's a lot of people who share this sort of general sentiment, so I'm just gonna wrap it up by taking a look at one particular creator. And in case it wasn't clear before, again, because everyone's a psychopath now, no hate to this guy or to any of the other YouTubers who have covered this, some who have covered it really well, some of whom are friends of the show. Please relax. I agree with 98% of what has been said, but on this 2%, I'm just trying to provide a slightly different framing than these kids are dumb as And so this is Casey Simpson, former child actor, and Nikki from Nikki, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn. He's got 10 million followers on TikTok, where he aura farms off of having once hugged Sabrina Carpenter. Well played, sir. I tip my hat. But interesting.
That's fair. That's 100% fair. I'm for real. It's like, I think it's good if you have like someone who's way beyond like your own scope of understanding, you know, as part of your like discussion, because why wouldn't you?
Interestingly enough, he also moonlights as a Gen Alpha accountability expert. Take a look at this. Gen Alpha is doomed. Gen Alpha can't read. Gen Alpha can't speak English anymore. I guess their French is alright. Gen Alpha still can't read anything. Gen Alpha is failing. Gen Alpha is attacking me for saying they can't read. Gen Alpha is worse than you think.
Gen Alpha's attacking me.
Alpha still can't read, and it's getting worse. And that is all from the last month. From what I tell, he's got 20 total videos about Gen Alpha's cognitive abilities from the last 3 months, which again, on a pure game recognized game level. I mean, this guy is prolific. I respect it. Making the same thing 20 times.
This guy is like saying this guy is saying like vocabulary words that I'm surprised he's saying.
I thought that was something only Taylor Swift could do. I'm sorry. That was unbecoming. But let's take a look at a few minutes of the 800 hours of Gen Alpha diss tracks this guy has cooked up. And I do want to acknowledge real quick that he appears to be in either a dorm room at college or maybe a Scandinavian prison.
Oh my
But
god,
that's beside.
that's the same one I have. Hold on.
Appears to be in either a
That's the exact same one, the exact same loft I have at uni. That's kind of crazy.
room at college or maybe a Scandinavian prison, but that's besides the point.
If we go extinct, we deserve it. And we need to talk about this because the brain-rotted kids of today are going to be the presidents, the Harvard professors of tomorrow. Because, like, you know how Alexander the Great talks about his formative education with Aristotle? Our next world-renowned scientist is going to have to talk about their formative education of both 6 and 7. If we go extinct...
What a fucking weird laugh. I'm sorry.
We deserve it. And we need to talk about this because the brain-rotted kids of today are going to be the presidents, the Harvard professors of tomorrow. Because, like, you know how Alexander the Great talks about his formative education with Aristotle? Our next world-renowned scientist is going to have to talk about their formative education of both 6 and 7.
1, 2.
This guy's kind of pissing me off. Like, we get it, bro. We get it.
Okay, so right out of the gate, every single Gen Alpha Can't Read video has to start with a 6-7 jab, including using this specific TikTok. Again, making fun of 6-7, which is a meme for 6 or 7 year olds. But besides that, we have one of these 6-7 kids is going to be president one day, which,
I give it to him.
brother,
He's being funny.
have you seen what passes for a president now? With all due respect, I haven't heard from
this president sucks, but I can't say anything.
a president
I can go into detail. I can't go into detail.
Who speaks in complete sentences since I was 15.
Every now and then I get some comment from some boomer who's like,
Actually, Gen Alpha is a wonderful butterfly. They are all geniuses.
They're just trying to be nice, bro. Like, what do you expect them?
Few bad apples.
I'm sorry, but the whole orchard is rotten. It's gotten so bad that
Not the whole orchard. Let's calm it down here.
even the former Gen Alpha apologists, the people who used to defend Gen Alpha, even they have caved.
I was not going to participate in the Gen Alpha slander because I have 2 Gen Alpha kids and I think they're pretty great. But then I took my kids to a public green space the other day and oh my god, they're the worst. This little boy, there was a little boy, he had to be like 3 or 4. Not my child, I had to pull him off of 4 different kids, one being my own. After he fucked with my kid, every kid he went near after, I told him to stop. And guess what? Every single time I looked over at his mom, she's chatting with her friend. And at that point, like, why would I even go up to her and say, hey, your child's being a little piece of shit? Because you're sitting here being a piece of shit parent.
Again, I feel like I'm having a stroke. The whole orchard is rotten. Every Gen Alpha kid is cooked, as this TikTok proves. And then he plays the TikTok, and it's literally just a mom explaining that Gen Alpha kids are great, except for this one particular Gen Alpha.
Yeah, it's like, we can't. I understand it's like one rotten apple makes everything, all the other apples rotten, but at the same time, it's like not every apple is going to be in the same basket, you know? And of course, it's the parents, of course, but yeah, but it's not everybody, unfortunately. It's you can't broadly associate negative people to their entirety identity that they associate with. It's pretty unfair.
A kid who was mean to her kids and other kids because his parents sucked. So bad parenting equals bad kid, which is a truism we've known since the dawn of time.
Exactly.
So sad is like there are probably so many Gen Alpha kids for real who can't spell BMW. People are asking, oh my gosh, how will these
Why BMW? You know, I'm not
Gen Alpha kids ever take the SATs one day? It's like, I'll be excited if they can spell SATs, okay?
Jesus.
You're hilarious. Look, guys,
That guy sounds like a piece of shit. I'm gonna be 100% real.
I ran a 100%, again, scientific poll of my IG story truthers, giving them an option between Gen Alpha is cooked and actually Gen Z was pretty stupid too. But the reality is there's a secret third option. Yes, Gen Alpha may be cooked, but so are we. So are you. And I can relate to Casey here because I also peaked in middle school and left behind a promising career to complain on YouTube instead. But my guy, I get it. You just finished your minor in philosophy. I also know about Descartes and
Undergraduate Aristotelian. what do they even, yeah, what do they even mean? What?
Shit, you know what I mean? But in the words of my favorite philosopher, Obi-Wan Kenobi,
the ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
And so here's my meta commentary of the
Damn.
week. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. There is a trend on YouTube, which I myself am not immune to, 100%, of taking 3 to 7 TikToks and like one news article headline and concocting a narrative about the general state of society based on mostly just those 3 to 7 TikToks. And that's not how reality works.
Exactly.
And I dislike having to put more disclaimers in my video than like a couch sold in the state of California, but I feel like it's necessary. I get the YouTube game. You have to make bold or
and also pressure to cover a trending topic if it gets views for people, even if you're going to say the exact same thing, same shit as 40 people. Exactly. It's like, I understand it brings in the views, it brings in the money, it brings in what you're trying to get, views and attention on a topic that is really important as a young person who has to, you know, look back upon my actions and the progress of what I have done for the younger generation. At the same time, though, it's like you have to look up within ourselves. Like, we used to be that. We just found a way to get out of it. But why are we shaming those below us? We're kind of repeating the cycle in which millennials are doing, or we're doing with us. You know, like, it's kind of still doing with us today, because you know how they are. They're on TikTok, you know, on some bullshit.
Controversial statements, especially your title and thumbnail, to get people to click. Gen Alpha can't read hits a lot harder than Gen Alpha's reading scores at the lowest percentiles are lower than they were a decade ago. I'm not trying to put shame in anybody's game, but for one, some of this content, and I repeat, some, does cross over into being weird and rude about literal children. And the same thing with pulling these, again.
I mean, I feel like it borders between criticism and just downright spite. I think some of it is like them wanting to just bring into that the community of just shitting on the younger generations because they are at a point in their lives where they just don't know what to do. You know, it's like they're just there to just be mean, you know, just to hate. And that's every community has that, but like with this kind of like discourse, it's so loud, you know, it's everywhere. You can't really avoid it because every so often you scroll and you get those videos because you like a video criticizing an education system, and then you get a video of the education system in effect, and people just continuing the discourse instead of actually doing something to help solve the issue. But whatever.
Several videos of teachers complaining about their kids or about being stressed at work. Again, not discounting any of those stories, but those are just individual experiences. Teaching is famously a horrible, stressful job. And on two fronts. One, on TikTok, you're not going to get the teachers who are telling you how great and how happy and unstressed they are about their jobs. The ones who are mid-crash out are the ones who are going to get pushed to the top. And also, because it's TikTok, you're going to get overwhelmingly Gen Z teachers who are therefore new to teaching, don't have a baseline of what teaching was like before COVID, for instance. Versus if you go on other corners of the internet and find some teachers who have been in the crucible for 40 years, some of them disagree that behavior has gone significantly worse, or attention. Or maybe they're noticing changes that are even more disturbing, frankly. Like something that I've seen repeated on like Reddit teacher forums is that
Biggest change, apathy. It's incredible how many kids don't seem to care about their schooling, even in high school where the threat of not graduating is right there. They don't seem to care. It depends on the motivation, right? It's like there's no motivation for you to do anything else than to just sit at home and not do anything. It's like we've perpetuated the reality of the ability to not do anything, you know? And unfortunately, like, there are consequences to that, because like one, you're gonna go broke. You're gonna go broke without proper schooling or proper credentials to go to school, or that you were at school. And so not a lot of people will hire you, or you're not gonna, you know, do something different, or you're not gonna change, or you're not gonna like go chase aspirations that you had previously. However, I would say is that the education system doesn't really help that, because it's only just been, can you get a good grade or not? Can you outsmart, or can you work harder than your peer, instead of can you work with your peer to get to be better, you know? There's no collaboration, there's no like goal setting, there's nothing you can do as a student by yourself to motivate yourself to actually go to school and do well in school. But everybody blames the parents and the teachers and the kids themselves, because we've become accustomed to like not understanding the system that we are currently in place in, you know?
That there's a straight up rise in apathy from students. Students who don't care about the work, who think it's all pointless and nothing matters. Versus in previous years, there were kids who were like lazy or didn't do the work, but now they're like proud. And that depresses me, and it makes me disillusioned with some of the content I see around this topic, but others too, which is not just unhelpful, but actively making things worse. For one, saying Gen Alpha is completely cooked and just done as a generation. They're just a lost generation is the deranged doomerism that is affecting everybody's mental.
8-year-old in despair, the mental health crisis is getting younger. It's exactly. It's like we continuously make things worse by not actively seeking solutions and combating the actual root problem of this issue. It is insane. We just keep saying they're cooked, they're cooked, they're cooked, they're cooked, they're cooked. But there's nobody going out there, going to the office, going to Department of Education, going to your local office, or like anything to actually change that and actually call it out. There's no one doing that. It's like we can do so much as like a community and a society in general to help younger generations learn how to be better students, learn how to take the brain rot and turn the distractions off and focus on what they want to do in real life, other than like content creation or whatever people have nowadays, you know? Like I was very lucky to not think like that. I kind of think a bit now, because I have a very, very small platform now, but you know, I understand, and I still have aspirations in like in science and art and like math. I really want to strive in. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm willing to learn and willing to put aside distractions to actually learn. But no one's taught that nowadays, because we're all too worried about complaining and like pointing out the problem instead of actually addressing the problem.
Health, but especially children. I repeat, the bigger issue is that 10-year-olds should not be on TikTok, but when a 10-year-old is on TikTok and their entire For You page is Zoomers bemoaning the end of civilization, AI taking our jobs, climate change, and now also that the Gen Alpha kids are complete morons, completely.
It's like we understand that we have problems in this world, and do something. We have the power to do something, you know? Like when people in like political structures, they call it out and then they complain about it online. They cry about it online. They put their heart and soul in complaining about it, instead of like, you know, understanding the bigger picture and like, how do I do this? How do I do that? You can make a public comment about it, like an infrastructure project, or like more roads for like a busy highway. You're able to put a public comment, but they won't fucking listen to it. You know why? Because they're not legally obligated to actually listen to it. They're legally obligated to read it, see it, throw it away. That's it. You see that system? You see how that system can like just feeds into cycles of tokenism and just utter ineptitude of our own cooperation to make our community and like where we live even better, you know? Or like help people out, you know? It's very market based. The solutions that we have in place are very market based, and it's relying on the rational economic man. But in reality, no one's going to be that rational economic man when there's more profit to gain if you're not that rational economic man. There's nothing in this world that pisses me off, and the people who go online and just complain and just don't do shit. And the only thing they'll ever really push themselves to actually change is to like boost Taylor Swift to get #1 on Billboard. Like, what's the point? that kind of community and togetherness could be like put onto something bigger and better, but no, they're worried about the wrong things.
Useless, can't do anything. It's kind of hard to convince that kid that they should care about long division. And let me go a little further by saying Gen Z doomerism online is not just a reaction to things like the Gen Alpha literacy crisis.
Reaching a very serious stage of very unserious, hopeless state of the world like this is not the same 20s we are at. We could change it. Hello.
But also an accessory to it. And what I mean by that is most Zoomers and adults also can't read for shit. Our attention spans are also cooked. And if you can't focus on a page of text, it's pretty hard to have critical thinking skills. There was an article in The Atlantic that got a bunch of play last
The elite college students who can't read books. I can read a book, hello?
year about freshmen in Ivy League schools. We're talking Harvard, Columbia, just straight up not being able to read. They could not get through complex texts just because they can't focus. And I don't doubt it. And I have a theory.
I never read in high school, but I did read passages and articles, and that was pretty much it. I'll be real.
That a lot of the people who love watching Gen Alpha can't read videos themselves greatly overestimate their reading ability. Here's a fun game for you to do at home. After you finish watching this video though, okay? I need that watch time. In 2024, 3 professors published an experiment conducted in their undergraduate English classes. Given dictionaries and unlimited time, how many students could rewrite the first 7 paragraphs of Charles Dickens' Bleak House in plain English? The results were stunning. Only 5% of these college-age students were up to the challenge. 58% understood so little of the introduction to Bleak House that they would not be able to read the novel on their own.
What the fuck? I never read Bleak House, but I've read books not similar, but I read books like deals with macroeconomics in general and like system thinking. It's so astounding to me that like people my age can't read. I honestly can't understand that.
Now, you can go find Bleak House online. I think it's an old enough book that it's, in the public domain at this point. And I encourage you to run this test. It was fun. I was locked in. I consider myself a decent reader, and I was struggling. There's zero shot that I would be in the 5% who understood every word. And so I think part of this is that there's a widespread misinterpretation of what statistics like 100 million Americans are reading at a 6th grade level means. A 6th grade reading level is how to read the words. You're just not able to read into them. Literacy is not just about the act of reading, it's about being able to understand metaphor and bias and symbolism.
Yeah.
Without trying to go back to the all fiction is YA now that I was describing a little bit earlier. The books we read now that are popular now,
You can see it in shorter paragraphs, shorter chapters, simple vocab, decline of third-person POV, faster pacing, telling rather than showing. Similar thing happening to movies, no longer trusting audiences to figure out. Oh, so exactly. I remember watching a video where they were talking about how Netflix mainly is now like they're just telling you what's going on in the show instead of like you being, locked into the show or the movie, because they have like the second screen something where they know they have the shows and movies on the second monitor. So why bother making movies and like shows so like visually complexing and interesting when they're not going to even look at it? So they do this. They make things simpler. They say it out loud. There's the loss of show don't tell is so fucking insane to me, bro. Like I don't need to be shown every single thing. I could just tell you, describe it pretty well, add some adjectives, some pronouns, something. But no, everybody is too distracted and too like empty-headed to like legitimately put 2 and 2 together or like visualize. It's like impossible.
A lot of them are 6th grade level texts. I am not hating. I'm not saying the books are bad, but if you pick up like a Colleen Hoover book, it's not, it doesn't require you to read into it. The plot is straightforward, it's dialogue heavy, the theme is laid out for you, and you can finish the whole thing in like 3 hours max. I do not care if I sound pretentious, it is true, and it's bleeding into real life. In this TikTok era, people are reading less, they're reading less difficult material, and just because of social media, their social and personal lives give no opportunities to practice deeper understanding either.
Like, the vocabulary, the grammar. If you were to take no red ink right now, 95% of people would fail it. It'll be like stuck on the one preposition kind of thing or whatever. Like I understand no reading is annoying. I've had my struggles with it because like I'm not the greatest at like learning, but overall it's just been so obnoxious to like keep reading people not putting in a coherent sentence. Like my friends, they cannot put a coherent sentence in their group chat at all. Sometimes I'm like, bro, what? Like when I text my coworkers or my boss, I speak in such a professional tone, texting or on the phone call, because that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. You know? I don't understand.
You have 15 seconds, maybe a minute to get to the point on TikTok. There is no room for nuance, qualifiers, nothing. And I see this bleeding into YouTube. YouTube is just becoming long-form brain rot. I see it with some of these Gen Alpha can't read videos. Those of us scrolling and browsing social media have less and less tolerance for ambiguity. Everyone wants rage and anger focused on one point, and that is it. We're not forming opinions based on facts online. We're forming opinions and finding the facts to back them up. And I'm not talking about children, I'm talking about adults. Online, we are just becoming less and less willing to change our opinions about anything, about adjusting our opinions based on new information. And as someone who enjoys new pieces of information, that kind of sucks. Especially since we're getting new information every like 3 seconds now because of how things are changing. So instead of just a Gen Alpha reading crisis, I think we have a general understanding crisis. Instead of Gen Alpha can't read videos, how about we do a nobody can understand each other anymore video? And this psychological polarization, this perpetual knee-jerk reaction, can be seen not just in how YouTubers and TikTokers engage with literacy issues, but beyond that. So let me explain with a little closing story. I mentioned earlier that literacy rates have been declining across America, across states, whatever. Which is true in the post-COVID short term, but there have been a few notable exceptions in the long term, in the last 2 decades. Most notably in Mississippi. Yeah.
Hail State or Go Rebels. I don't know the exact chance they have for those 2 states or those 2 colleges, but I want to go to Mississippi. I'm gonna be honest. I want to go to Mississippi. I think it would be a good like a road trip. I'm from Texas, so
that Mississippi, the poorest state in the nation and the butt of every.
Jesus Christ! It's the result of poor infrastructure, declining labor, relocation of labor. I love capitalism.
Joke. Rightfully so. But since 2013, which again is when every other state started to go downhill in reading and math, Mississippi shot up, going from 49th in the country to 8th in reading. The turnaround was so unbelievable that it's called the Mississippi Miracle. There's a Wikipedia page and everything.
The Mississippi Miracle is a rapid improvement of K-12 student performance in Mississippi since 2013, widely attributed to a series of policy, curriculum, and pedagogical, I think that's how you say it, changes initiated by the state level. At the state level, the term can be used to generally refer to improvements in student test scores in other southern states that implemented similar changes. It is also dubbed the Southern Surge. The positive changes follow decades of low academic performance in the state and likely help minimize some of the negative educational impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. How? I'm very curious. Mississippi students performing a full grade level below their peers around the country as recently as 2013. By 2024, I need to breathe. They were performing nearly half a grade level above the average U.S. student. The miracle has been accredited to various causes working together, principally driven in Mississippi by the Literacy-Based Promotion Act, and other states by similar forces and trends.
You can go read about. And when I learned about this, I was incredulous, of course. Mississippi.
He's trying. He's very trying, I could tell, but he's doing a good job.
Miracle. As far as I knew, the only miracle possible in Mississippi was moving out of Mississippi. Surely whoever was in charge of the Mississippi schools or the data was cooking the books, is what I thought. And my proudly biased ass set out to find the information to prove it. And all I found was a single column from the Los Angeles Times.
Mississippi suspect reading test scores.
It's titled Mississippi's Suspect Reading Test Scores. Got 'em. Smoking gun. Let's put these hillbillies in their place. And then I actually read this piece, and that's when I knew I had to make this video. Because in addition to re-emphasizing phonics, the main factor attributed to the Mississippi Miracle is a new policy that third graders do not advance to fourth grade if they cannot read at a third grade level. If they can't read at grade level, they get held back a year and they just redo the whole year until they can pass the test. It's accountability, plain and simple, for students, for parents, for teachers. If you can't read, you get held back.
That's
which
smart.
for a generation apparently lacking in motivation, the social stigma of getting held back and having to see your friends go on and you not, is a pretty good motivator. But so I was looking.
So I'm a lore drop, boom, right? My dad was held back once or twice. I think once. However, what happened was that I think since the No Child Left Behind thing, my dad was able to go past a couple grades because he was able to just do well enough, but his reading level was so low when he graduated high school. I think they legitimately thought he was like mentally challenged. I don't really understand that because my dad still graduated high school. He's fine, but in reality, he could barely read like 7th grade, 8th grade level readings. I'm like, holy shit, you know? I mean, it's very depressing because like, why would you just keep sending the kid over to each new grade when they can't even read, when they can't even do math, when they can't write? I mean, it makes no sense to me. It made no sense to me, and it really got me upset because like, it made my dad struggle more than he really should have, and as a result, like it made his life and our lives a lot more challenging.
Looking forward to Michael Hiltzik of the LA Times to explain how these numbers were cooked. And instead, this is what I got. The first half of the article recaps Mississippi's abysmal situation with regards to healthcare access and abortion rights, which is true, but completely irrelevant. The next 25% of the article talks about how Black and Latino students are far behind white students in the state, which again, 100% true, but is also true of literally every other state in this country. And I don't think anybody was holding their breath on Mississippi.
It's like, because of very rigorous gerrymandering, segregation, all this stuff, right? Where people who are Black and Hispanic and such similar socioeconomic like identities, they weren't given the resources, the money, anything to really progress into the education system and go out of the education system as functional parts of society, as much as like society wanted them to be. And so as a result, you know, you don't get that many like successful stories. You get like the hot Cheeto guy who does something really cool, but like beyond that, that's like, you know, you get very, very limited options, you know? And so, well, not anymore nowadays, but still it takes a lot of work. And then so, of course, the government wants to do something about it. They want to help, but at the same time, they do things that diminish it. The crack epidemic of the 80s. Epidemic of the 80s. There you go. I said it right. A lot of like, you introduce and you're able to like enforce these like negative stereotypes and these like vices onto the poor people and like different communities of race and gender, to where they become, they don't grow, they don't become a community and grow, and they don't call out these educational failures, and then it just continues on the system and the cycle of just discriminatory and prejudice acts and policies.
Mississippi becoming the vanguard of eliminating racial inequity. And then finally, mercifully, in the last 3 out of the 40 paragraphs of this article, Michael finally gets to that since the poorest...
Okay, what's the real story? Drummond Summerby focused on the so-called third grade gate implemented by the literacy program, the requirement that third grade underachievers repeat third grade. In Mississippi, almost 10% of third graders have been... Wow, 10% of third graders have been getting held back, a high proportion in any other state. Than in any other state. Some have been held back more than once. Holy shit. Oh, Lord. The statistical result of the policy should be obvious. If you throw the lowest ranking 10% out of a statistical pool, the remaining pool inevitably looks better. Drum went so far as to add those drop pupils back into the calculation. He found that the gains of 2013-2022 completely disappeared. In other words, he remarked, the 2013 reform had all but no effect. Okay. It's proper to know that educators have been casting a questioning eye on Mississippi results ever since the state implemented its literacy program. Some noticed the potential for skewing the statistics through the third grade gate early on.
Performing students are held back. The increased scores are actually a mirage, since the poorest performing students are just held back and they don't get included in the data, which is true, and also the stupidest, most bad faith way you could interpret this. Because no shit, if I'm running a varsity football team and there's a freshman who's 100 pounds and I don't let him play because he's gonna get destroyed.
Exactly. It's like the more you get help, it's like the accountability is there, but to kind of call it out as like a, well, it's just the easy way or whatever. It's just like this or that. I'm like, you have these students hold themselves accountable for not reading, and you have these parents holding themselves accountable to not helping their child grow. And sometimes those children, those parents refuse to learn, refuse to change, and they keep going, and over again they're repeating third grade, and all they could think about is like, well, maybe they're lying. Maybe the kid isn't in a good state of mind, or isn't in a good place, like physically, that helps them move on.
The team on average will be faster and stronger. But what's true is that next year, that kid will grow and be bigger and stronger and perhaps more prepared to play, and also have more confidence in himself perhaps, which will help him succeed into the future. Like, I genuinely cannot believe this article. The implication, I guess, being that there are currently 30-year-old students still in the third grade in Mississippi because the system is just holding them back and back since they know that their test scores aren't good enough and will drag the average down.
It's like, what do you expect from a statistical result in general, right? Like, you weed out the bad performers, you only get the best performers. So when you put those bad performers back into the pool, it skews down the rank, the results. Like, how fucking stupid are you? Like, just because you re-implement statistical data back into the pool does not mean that the policy has failed. That's such a fucking stupid way to do calculations. Like, how do you even come up with that? I mean, that makes no sense.
What? One way every single kid needs to pass this test and their score will be included in the average. The question is not about that. The question is it worth it to make every child take the extra time if necessary to get a higher score? And the lesson from Mississippi appears to be yes for now. I mean, again, we'll see. Maybe there will be contravailing data or something in the future that throws cold water on this miracle. I don't know, but wanting it to be untrue because you're a smug asshole from LA who cannot believe that
Oh my god. Like, why do you have to go out of your way to discredit something when it's benefiting the greater good of children? It makes no sense to me. It's like, what are you getting out of it? And the main problem with journalism nowadays, and even since like way back then, is like they look for sensationalism and the headlines. They don't look for credibility, legitimization of the article, or just like boots on the ground truth. You get so many news stations and articles and people that in reality have no idea how to write an article that is based upon facts and unbiased thoughts and opinions. You never find it.
Backwater shithole like Mississippi might have accidentally maybe done something right for once is the peak jerk-off pseudo-intellectualism that is just destroying everything. That has become the norm online. Not just TikTok, it's apparently in the LA Times too. And I know this video got kind of serious on the back end, and I know nobody cares, and I've just been ranting for 20 minutes, and retention is gonna be awful. But it is literally important for me, just for myself, to verbalize that I know I don't know everything. I do not care if I have to put disclaimers and qualifiers into every single YouTube video, no matter how stupid or silly the topic is. I feel like I have to. And I'm becoming increasingly disillusioned with people who are 100% certain about everything all the time and project that to a camera and a ring light. And fundamentally, I'm not a doomer. I don't care. I know I complain a lot. Complaining's fun, but I'm trying to entertain. And there used to be a time on the internet where you could make fun of other people or poke fun at something, and there didn't have to be a deeper point. Why is it impossible to just make a video being like, Gen Alpha kids are crazy, like Gen Alpha brain rot is so funny, whatever? Why does it have to be this like, Gen Alpha can't read, we're all gonna fucking die, everything sucks, literally just let's start firebombing AI data center? Like, what? I mean,
like the pessimistic ideas and like attitude towards like the bigger picture and the broader problems of our society is so fucking annoying. Oh my god. We are better. We are smarter and more technically able to actually root the problem and have this sort of like cooperation with local knowledge, and technical knowledge. We can combine those two to actually, you know, solve things. But everybody's so pessimistic. Everybody's so woe is me. I fall into that, you know, with how I'm trying to find a job. You know, it's like I gotta figure it out myself before I continue this like pathway of just depressing like thoughts. You know, we're better as a person than just complaining every so often.
Jesus, just go take some ashwagandha or something. Already, school districts, by the way, are banning phones in school.
Oh my god, that's so many. Requires and recommends local policy, instructional time ban, school day ban. School day ban, I don't really understand, because if there's something going on at lunch that requires assistance or like instant communication, then it needs to be happening. But like in class, just turn it off, bro.
Reforms are being made. Chronic absenteeism is being made an election issue in a lot of local elections that I've been seeing. These are big problems that have bubbled up over decades, and they might take decades to find the right cocktail of solutions. But Nikki from Nicky Ricky Dicky Spinicky doesn't have all the fucking answers. And especially now that Elon Musk took a buzzsaw to the Department of Education and literally cleaned out.
This is the first NAEP score release since the Trump administration began making cuts to United States Education Department. Oh my god. Those cuts include laying off more than half the workers at Institute of Education and Service Sciences, IES. The arm of the department charged was measuring measuring student achievement and overseeing and processing the data that comes from the tests students take. This is such an easy way to say they just implement their own people to to assume statistics that aren't really true, and then adjust them over time as time progresses, just to make sure like golden people will be like, I've seen this in like job market and like the job reports where they're like, the job market's at an all-time high, it's working, but then the previous reports are saying like these are adjusted by the current data or whatever data, and it's drastically smaller. It's the change is not that subtle. You can tell that when they're just making shit out their ass. Oh, I get pissed about it.
The bureau that was tasked with like making these assessments with the NAEP numbers, we might not even get any more testing on this until 2032. Thanks, Elon. Thanks, Donald. What did that buy us? Two more missiles. So hopefully we can get a new president who restores some of that funding. Otherwise, I guess we'll just check in to see how things shake out in 2033. Yeah, 2033. When I'm in a retirement home, my Gen Alpha nurse is 6'7"ing in the corner, and finally, mercifully, I lose consciousness. Oh, and don't forget again to click the link in the description below to get a special discount on...
No, thank you. Good, that was a great video. I think it helps people broaden their sense of like problem solving instead of just blaming the world, being all like boohoo. That like Owlman from that one Justice League movie, like that. Good video by Mark Insco. Great video. All right, let's move on. Chat.